Ball podcast back again for another week. It is just the two of us today, Grant and I. Ethan's going to be on his way to Oregon tomorrow to go watch the Gophers play the Ducks. So he is unable to join us as Grant has left. Might be some technical difficulties here, but it is Grant and I, and looks like Grant is back. He's back, and we can hear him, so we're good there. What's the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast without a little bit of technology issues? It's just adversity. We got to battle through it, right?
And we always do.
We always do. We always do, just like NDSU had to do on Saturday, as they came away with a 15-10 win over the University of North Dakota Fighting Hawks, and what a game that was an absolute slobber knocker. And Grant, I know you didn't get to watch any of it, but it was about as ugly of an NDSU game as you could remember, which I'm trying to think back of, like, when we were in school, what were some ugly NDSU games, and I can't quite think of one as ugly as this one. I mean, it was a game. Grant, this is a stat that's going to blow your mind when I tell you this.
I'm listening.
NDSU had more penalties than first downs in this game, and they still found a way to win.
That's very uncharacteristic.
Yes, it was false starts, penalties.
NDSU.
There were a couple of bad ones. It wasn't the most well officiated game, but it was the kind of the first time we've really seen Cole Payton struggle. He had a really bad interception. The other interceptions that he's thrown this year has been off of tipped passes. But here, UND, and to their credit, they did a great job of keeping him in the pocket, not really letting him get out on the edge, and using his legs to extend plays or find guys downfield. They won interception, and there were a couple of times that the UND offense gave NDSU some short fields, and UND's defense bowed up and made it tough on them. And then offensively for UND, they did a really good job moving the ball from 20 to 20, but just weren't able to find the end zone. There was UND had 6 plays from within the 5, came in with 0 points, missed a 21-yard field goal that would have given them a 10-point lead at the time. And it was a big story of the game is in those gotta have it moments, UND faltered. Like I said, the drive where they had 6 plays within the 5-yard line. After it was a third down, it felt like NDSU was going to get off the field. There was a defensive holding in the end zone. They got 3 more plays. Isaac Fruchti, the offensive coordinator for UND, he didn't try and run the ball one time. 3 straight passes, 3 incompletions, then missed the field goal. The only touchdown drive UND had was off a short field off the Cole Payton interception. And then on UND went for it on 4th and 1 on their side of the 50. They tried like a quarterback blast. NDSU stuffed it, which set up the go-ahead touchdown for NDSU. And after NDSU took the lead, UND tried to with about a little over 2 minutes to go, UND tried a trick play on the kickoff. They ran a kick return reverse, and they got called back for an illegal forward pass. It was similar to what happened to Texas. I can't remember what game it was, but it happened to them a few years ago. And Eric Schmidt, actually, the head coach, actually talked about it and said that was that they got that play from Texas and ran it, and they had to start that drive at the UND 14 instead of starting it at the UND 41. That is I'm not good at math, but that's about a 26-yard difference there. But I think the story of the day was the effort that NDSU played on defense. I mean, between the game that Grant Olson called, the defense. They were on the field for 34 minutes as Grant dies.
I'm sorry, I'm dying.
34 minutes. UND ran 82 plays. Only had 10 points to show for it. Yeah. The secondary was able to force 3 second half interceptions. UND had drives of 12, 15, 14, 11, and 9. And it resulted in a punt, missed field goal, a field goal, and 2 interceptions. Donovan Woolen, who probably will not be on the NDSU roster next year because he's going to get a massive payday from some school in the Power 5, had 17 tackles. And they limited UND to 2.7 yards of rush and 4.5 yards of pass attempt. And like I said earlier, it was a slobber knocker, ugly, nasty, physical game. And about halfway through the third quarter, I was just like, just get us the lead and get us the hell out of here. Because to UND's credit, and we don't usually give UND a lot of credit, haven't had much reason to give UND credit, but I will say Eric Schmidt is a really good coach, and hopefully UND is able to keep him there because he has that team on the right track. I think he's somebody that really understands the job and understands how difficult that job is, especially where you have the hockey program as that main focus. But I think he's done a good job of getting that defense back on track. I think the offense still has some work to do. But nonetheless, the Alaris Center is a weird, oddly tough place to play. There are not many Valley teams that have gone into the Alaris Center and won. And in fact, Grant, since they have joined the Valley in 2020, do you know what UND's record is in the Alaris Center?
And for conference games?
Or
it's just in general?
Well, overall.
Overall. So let's say on average 6 home games a year. So 24, 27. I'll say like 19-9.
They are 29-5.
29-5. Damn, that's pretty good.
29-5. 2 losses to NDSU, 2 losses to UND, and 1 loss to Sacramento State in the playoffs in 2023.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No.
Yeah, you're right. That is a house of horrors then if nobody wants to go there and play.
And it's a weird they don't have any end zone seating. It's all standing room on the end zones. It's just seats on the sidelines. I don't know if it's the lighting or what, but it's a oddly tough place to play, and UND's done a good job of making it home. And the atmosphere looked awesome. It was especially awesome at the end when NDSU was able to come away with a win, and the Alaris Center was quiet. Which also, the game was ended by an incredible interception by Anthony Chidimi Alfaro to get the game-sealing interception. And with that game-sealing interception, they clinched the Valley outright with 2 weeks to go. Now, it's a little bit funky because NDSU right now, they have 1 conference game left, and that's this week against Northern Iowa. But then to end the regular season, it is a very rare occurrence where they actually have a non-conference. They end the season with a non-conference game against St. Thomas.
Why is that? Does just St. Thomas just need someone to play? Since they're making the jump up from D3?
I think it's just kind of how that schedule worked out. So I think that was kind of what the
because is that game in Fargo, or are they coming down here to St. Paul?
That game is in Fargo, yes.
Okay. Because did St. Thomas, are they attempting to make the jump up to the FCS?
They are currently in the FCS, actually, because they were kicked out of their conference.
That's right. Yes. Or can they not play the playoffs for a couple of years? Was that what it was?
So they filed a waiver
kicked out or something?
and they are eligible now.
Oh, okay. So they are eligible for the playoffs now.
Yes, they are eligible in basketball. They are actually the favorite to win the Summit League this year.
That doesn't surprise me.
Which, from what I've heard and seen, it sounds like they are trying to position themselves down the line in the next couple of years to join the Big East Conference because they are a private school. The Big East would probably love a big media market like Minneapolis to add to the conference. So that's what I have heard. We'll see if that were to happen. But yeah, it was a tremendous game. I'm glad NDSU won, and that was kind of the road. And I don't know if you've ever heard this before, Grant, but so listen closely. The road to the FCS National Championship game goes through Fargo.
What? You say that like I should know that, which is foreign news to me.
Foreign news, yes. But the only thing different this year is that instead of saying the road to Frisco goes through Fargo, the road to Nashville goes through Fargo.
That's right. Because what? Because is it Toyota Stadium? Is that what it's called? Or am I a fool down in Frisco?
Yes, I believe it is Toyota Stadium. It's changed a couple of. I know originally it was like Pizza Hut Park.
Pizza Hut. God, the nostalgia days of that restaurant when they had the buffet and those.
Good.
Oh God, those old red cups. It was beautiful. But because it's under renovations, the stadium, and then they're gonna take it back to Frisco when it's done.
To be determined. By the sounds of it, that the Nashville Sporting Club is being very aggressive, and they want to keep it at Vanderbilt for the foreseeable future. So we'll see if they're able to make that happen.
Okay.
But it might be a good thing.
So it's going to be at Vandy Stadium.
Yes, correct.
That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. And it might be a good thing too, because I think there were, and this is, you want to talk about the ultimate champagne problems, but it sounds like NDSU fans were getting a little bit tired of Frisco, as you saw a few more fans from the opposing team try to migrate more towards Frisco and taking up more seats where it wasn't that clear Fargo South vibe that it had been those first couple of years of when they were winning the national title. I think that it also happens when you're playing some other team, like Montana State's got a really good following. South Dakota State's got a better following. Some of these programs that have the better following, that'll balance it out, and they're able to scoop up a little bit more tickets. But Nashville, I think it'll be a good host. And as long as NDSU wins, it'll be a great host, and I have no issue with them keeping it there. So,
I know the playoffs are starting here in a couple weeks, Dylan, but as of right now, who do you think is the running favorite to play NDSU? Like if we had to go 1 versus 2, or what's the matchup that everyone's anticipating right now?
So
it's early. It's early right now, but right now.
Well, I don't know if you saw the computer, right? The Missouri Valley computer rankings right now, and this is kind of the state of the FCS. It's just not as deep as what it used to be with, Missouri State's going to win 9 games this year, if you didn't know. Yeah. And I don't think I think maybe you could count on one hand how many times Missouri State has won 9 games in the FCS, and their first year in FBS, they're going to go out and do it. Which is just maddening, because I think if NDSU were in the FBS this year, they would undoubtedly be the group of 5 champion or playoff team.
Yeah. They'd be playing the 5 seed in the college football playoff.
And currently they are minus 300 to win the FCS national championship. They are but to answer your question, right now, I think the favorite is either one of the Montana schools, which also could be very intriguing because the winner of that game that's next week, the Brawl of the Wild game, or the Cat. Actually, we won't call it the official name.
It's the Cat Grizz
as
game.
a tribute to our good friend Mike Zier. Yes, it
It's
is
the Cat Grizz game.
Grizz Cat game. Since Mike is our friend, and we'll go with that first. But the winner of that game will probably get the 2 seed. Whoever loses is still probably locked into the 3, which would set up a Grizz Cat Grizz, whatever you want to call it,
rematch
semifinal to go to Nashville, which
Possibly.
has never happened. Those 2 teams have never played in the playoffs.
Now that would be an exciting playoff game.
Also, a new twist this year to the FCS playoffs is the Ivy League is eligible for the postseason. So potentially Harvard, I think Harvard is the favorite at this moment to win the Ivy League. So Harvard could be coming to Fargo potentially. I've seen some brackets of them as the 8 seed and coming here in the quarterfinals. Yes.
So that would be the second playoff game, right?
Yes. Yep.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So there's that. But nonetheless, Grant, let's get into let's talk some NFL, college. Let's recap Week 10 in the NFL here. And as in similar fashion, we're gonna pick here our Week 10 team of the week, and leading us off is going to be, and we're gonna see if Grant can figure this one out. Grant, you're up. And
was that an Eagles helmet or what was that?
That was an Eagles, and mine was the Packers. Can you figure out how I picked the helmets this week?
That would be our team's last playoff loss.
Oh, wow. Nothing
yes,
gets
sir.
by you.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, so the Eagles one I was able to pick out right away. I had to chew on the Packers one a little bit, but, believe it or not, the 2023 regular season and postseason was not that long ago.
That is true.
And also I knew it couldn't be Buffalo because, you did that one last week. The Chargers have beat the Chiefs in the regular season this year, but that was a week 1 game, and that was early September. First time they've played the Broncos is coming up this year. And I was just like, I was able to put 2 and 2 together. And in that situation, I got to 4.
Yes. So who is your Week 10 team of the week?
This isn't a sexy team on paper because they're 3-7 on the year, but they absolutely smashed a team this weekend that was just coming off a big win at home, and I'm going the Miami Dolphins.
That was one of my choices.
Mm-hmm. Because they looked efficient on Sunday, Dylan, and it looked like Mike McDaniel got back to doing what he does well with his offense.
The running games are
wait for it, running the football against a Bills defense that is small in stature, and if you want to have success on them, you have to run the football. And most importantly, Tua kind of got back to being the Tua that we know, and that's throwing the ball down the field and getting chunk plays. And what do I say that? 8.2 yards per attempt on Sunday. The final number is not sexy. Only 173 yards, but he was 15 to 21. So only 6 passes hit the ground. What's that? Around an 83% completion percentage with 2 touchdowns. You know what? If I'm paying my quarterback $55 million a year, but he has a game like that, and we score 30 points, and our running game gets 197 yards on the ground and 6.2 yards per carry, I'm happy with that. You know why? Because my quarterback's not losing me the game on Sunday. And the defense, more importantly, they got after it. A much maligned Dolphins defense this year, I may add. Mainly a lot of downs, but Sunday wasn't up. 3 sacks against a very good Buffalo offensive line, a line that's very cohesive, that gave the Chiefs fits the week before, and also they forced 3 turnovers.
Yes, and also without Jalen Phillips, their best defensive player.
Without Jalen Phillips, who on Monday night kind of looked like a new person, and you could argue, oh, again, is there something really, really wrong with that culture in Miami? And also, just in the back of the Dolphins' mind, they also before this game could have the fact that they're going to Madrid, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Madrid on Sunday, so they got to fly across the ocean. And in classic Mike McDaniel fashion, he loves to get there on Monday or Tuesday to have the whole week in Europe. And sometimes you got to worry about these guys. Are they going to be focused on playing football, or they just want to travel around one of the best cities in the world? No, the Dolphins, they were focused, they were dialed in, and they dominated. And sure, they're 1-1 this year against Buffalo, but for the second time, they gave the Bills fits. And it was a game and a win the Dolphins needed. And especially after they fired their GM earlier in the week. And Mike McDaniel kept his job.
Yep, and we figured that. Well, I still think McDaniel is going to get fired, but
I agree.
Nonetheless, I think it was an ultimate trap game for the Bills, and they got caught in the trap for sure. And going down to, which is a very underrated, tough place to play, especially as the season goes along, because especially when you're in Buffalo, where you're used to temperatures are getting colder, and you go down to Miami and it's still hot and muggy. You're playing them right away at noon. It's a oddly tough place to play. You look at all the Patriots when they were winning their Super Bowls, they struggled there.
They struggled in
so
Miami,
and then the Bills playing the Bucks this week, which is also a must-win game, feeling that they had this one in the bag and they didn't. But the
and Dylan, to your point, coming off a week where you just beat the Chiefs and you beat them pretty handily, I think Buffalo was a little confident in themselves, a little arrogant, and they thought that's the Dolphins. We should be able to beat the brakes off these guys, and it's the NFL. There's 53 men who are professionals on this team. They're the best at what they do, and they dominated on Sunday.
Yep. And tip your cap to the Dolphins, and we'll go to my team of the week here. And I got to go with the Los Angeles Chargers. Down both tackles, having to rely on Trevor Penning, who was awful, that the Saints gave away for peanuts. And it's not like the Saints' offensive line is anything to write home about. But down their top two running backs, they don't have a number one receiver. But they do have a dominating defense. Minter, he's going to be a head coach next year in the NFL. The receivers stepped up. They played really well. You can see there's some more continuity with Herbert and the receivers, and he continues to play at a high level. The offensive line looked good, especially with the personnel that they had. I think if there is one thing that I gotta, and this is nitpicky, but I feel like Justin Herbert, for a guy that is 6'6", I don't know if there's a 6'6" quarterback that gets more balls batted down than he does. Am I crazy when I say that?
No, you're not. But also, you look at his arm release; it's a very low release. It's not over the top where he's firing it in there like when you see those videos of Favre playing. I'm not saying he's a side armor, but his release is a little bit lower than where you'd maybe think it should be. And that's why those balls get batted down. But yeah, to your point, none of his passes should be knocked down.
No.
I mean, even when they played Kansas City, Chris Jones at 6'5", he might be the only one who should be able to knock those balls down.
Yep. But the Chargers, I mean, they still keep finding ways to win. Harbaugh has the guys rolling. They're going to get Amari and Hampton back at some point. I think that's just going to add to their run game. But and against a Steelers team that was playing really well to this point. And, this might be the point in the Steelers season where they start to fall off. But we'll stick, since we're talking about the Steelers, we'll talk about our disappointing teams of the week here. And I got to go with, Grant, you had the Dolphins as your team of the week. So I won't go with the Bills as my disappointing team of the week. I will go with another team, though, that had no business losing to the team they played. I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers. It felt like they had turned a corner. It felt like Rico Dowell, they were like, Bryce Young has something he can rely on. He's got Rico Dowell. And the Saints just stacked the box all day, weren't allowing Dowell to run. It brings back the question of, is Bryce Young the guy? Can you build around him? Can you win? And when you rely strictly on Bryce Young to win you games, he still is not able to go out and win you a game. I mean, he's approaching some Josh Allen or Josh Rosen level stat lines where it is like 11 of 20 for like 100 yards, 1 interception, similar to like what Josh Rosen, where he'd be like 14 of 17 for 89 yards, 2 interceptions. That's kind of what it's feeling like with Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young is more talented. I'm not ready to give up on the kid yet, but it still shows that the Panthers still have a long ways to go if they want to start competing for a playoff spot.
Well, yeah, and even you look at their offense. Even the week before when they beat the Packers, their offense didn't do anything.
No.
No. So that's a very fair point and a very fair team, and they were on my list too. But Dylan, I said the Dolphins are my team of the week, and you weren't going to go with the Bills as your disappointing team. I'm going to do the opposite of you. I am going to stick with the first game that you talked about, and I am going to say the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Is this our first three guys talking ball where you have the team of the week and disappointing team of the week from the same game? That might be a new banner we can hang up somewhere.
A banner, or I know we don't have scoregamis, but this feels like a scoregami.
It could be
a little bit. But Dylan, you brought up the fact that the Chargers were out their 2 starting tackles, and that's my biggest disappointment. This Steelers team is built on defense. You have T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith. You're supposed to have studs on the end. They got after Daniel Jones the week before, and yes, they still got to Herbert 5 times and sacked him 5 times. But besides those 5 plays, they couldn't do anything on defense to stop this Chargers offense, and mainly this Chargers passing game from getting in a rhythm. But also, you go to the offensive side of the ball, and Aaron Rodgers in this offense, they're just out of sync. Aaron was sacked 3 times. He threw 2 interceptions, and as a team, they only had 73 yards rushing. Remember last year how they started out hot with Wilson, and everyone thought, oh, hey, they might be something. They could be good. And then they kind of got to that midseason lull where they just fell flat on their face, and it looked like Tomlin's message wasn't getting across. I fear for the Steelers, Dylan. We've reached that point of the year.
Is it potentially a Arthur Smith problem as well? Because you look at like his teams when he was the head coach in Atlanta, or when he was even when he was the offensive coordinator in Tennessee, where they would get out to these hot starts and then they would kind of limp in, where they'd be beat up, or they just would be out of sync, and it would falter down the end and cost themselves playoff spots.
I think so, and I was going to bring that point up too. I think truly, if Mike Tomlin wants to keep his job, and I think he will, the Steelers don't fire coaches. They let their coaches retire. But the Rooney family and whoever their general manager is at this time, they're going to sit back and they're going to say, okay, Mike, we need to make wholesale changes on the offensive side of the ball because it's not working out right now. And I think that starts and ends with Arthur Smith, because I just don't know. His offense just isn't creative enough. It looks very bland and very boring out there. And Rodgers doesn't look happy. He's getting beat up. They can't establish the running game. This defense is hot and cold. It's also the oldest defense in the NFL. So they got to – if they don't watch it this year, the Steelers are going to be in for a disappointing future for the next 2 or 3 years, because they really got to retool with this team. But again, it just, like I said, last year you could see when they started to get flat, because you could see it in Hard Knocks in season. They weren't listening to Tomlin anymore, and I feel for the Steelers right now. We're getting there. And also, it doesn't help that number 8 is back in Baltimore. And that Ravens team is flying around right now. Let's
They're
call
winning the AFC North.
The Baltimore Ravens are winning the AFC North, and they might be the 5 seed or the 4 seed. The 4 seed, excuse me, that nobody wants to play.
Yep.
Like, if you don't win the AFC West, Kansas City, Los Angeles, or I'll throw in the Bills for that matter, I don't want to play that team in Baltimore the first week of the playoffs.
Nope.
Nobody does. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Steelers as my disappointing team because, again, it looked off after having a great week before. They didn't bring it on Sunday.
No, they did not. But Grant, let's go down to the college ranks and who did bring it for your Week 11 team of the week?
The team that is bringing it, and I'm really starting to like this team, and I think they could do something here going forward. And as we get into the college football playoff, it's the Texas A&M Aggies.
Ooh, I had them down as well.
Yep, and Dylan, like we talked about 2 weeks ago when you were in town for Ethan's wedding, and we were talking about the coaching hires in this coaching carousel, and I said sometimes it's not the sexiest name. It doesn't
not the
win.
Coolest press conference.
It's not the coolest press conference. It's not the sexiest name. The fans don't get excited in January. But you hire a football coach and you hire a leader. That's what Mike Elko was doing, and that was on show Saturday night or Saturday afternoon because this team went into Columbia, Missouri, and frankly smashed Missouri and ended their season. And also, depending on how this coaching carousel goes, this may be the game where we looked at it and we realized Eli Drinklett's career at Missouri ended in this game when he sat back and he realized this Missouri school, this Missouri football program, on a good year with the right schedule in the SEC is a 9-3 team without making the college football playoff, and that's as high as you're going to go. Like I said, because A&M, they just went in there and smashed them.
The strength coach hire.
Oh, exactly. Boom. Look at that. And you know what? Those two hires have in common? Culture. Culture. Your offense for the rushing attack. Anytime you can average 6.2 yards per carry in a game, you're going to win that game and you're going to dominate. And then honestly, I think Colin Klein is on pace here in the next year or two to become a head coach. If he keeps this up and he can keep learning under Mike Elko, he will get a job and he will be a head coach here soon. And Marcel Reed was fantastic. He was 20-29, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 90.1 QBR. He didn't have to make too many plays with his legs on Saturday, but also that's an added dimension in his game that he has. And when he needs to make one of them later in the year, when you play Texas, if you're playing a game, if you're playing an SEC title game in Atlanta or a college football playoff game, wherever that may be, that's a difference maker too. And then also, Missouri's passing game was held to 7 of 22 on Saturday. I'm sorry, but anytime your opposing team is completing less than 33% of its passes, you're going to win the football game and you're going to dominate. The one thing with A&M you worry about is Missouri was still able to dominate on the ground. Sometimes with the rushing yards, Dylan, you always say, oh, there's an outlier. There's a 45-yard carry. There was an 18-yard carry. You take away Missouri's 2 longest runs of the day, which was a 45-yarder and an 18-yarder. Missouri still averaged 4.5 yards on the ground. So you worry a little bit about that. But A&M went into Columbia and just killed the Tiger season and may have ended the Eli Drinklett's era at Missouri because he knows he can't do anything else here.
Yep, yeah, and probably be getting another job in the SEC, potentially. But it was I didn't get to watch much of this game because the NDSU game was going on, and that took up most of my undivided attention. So, but my team of the week is I'm gonna go with a go with a Big Ten team. I'm going to go with the Oregon Ducks. They survived the Kinnick voodoo, the rain, the weather, all of it. And it played out the way any weird Iowa game always does, as if it's an afternoon game when it's in November where it starts to get dark early, a night game, you name it. Things start to get weird at Kinnick. In a sense, Grant, it kind of played out like the game we went to when Iowa played Penn State in 17, where it was weird, a little bit of a back and forth game. Neither team really felt like either had control of it. Mark Gronowski scores a game-winning touchdown to go-ahead touchdown to take the lead. And then Dante Moore, that guy's a first-round quarterback. I think he should probably stay for another year.
I agree.
But the throws that he made on that final drive, oh, my word. And Ethan's going to get to see it up close and personal in 2 days. But they basically did the reverse. And maybe that Kinnick magic has gone awry because that's just happened twice now in a season where Iowa has fault blowing two leads that it felt like they probably should have won. But this is a Dan Lanning. This feels like a guy that the weird Kinnick voodoo. I feel like Dan Lanning is the type of guy that's just going to roll around in it, man. He's just going to be like, yeah, give me this weird shit. I don't care. We're going to make a mess of it ourselves. We can win this way. Well, if you want to get into a phone book with it, bring it. We're not going to be intimidated. We're just going to go and take care of business.
Dylan, all you need to know about Dan Lanning is earlier in the week, the Oregon equipment staff asked him about what he wanted to wear to the game. Khaki, sweatshirt, hat, visor, whatever it is. They asked him if he wanted to have a jacket or a poncho or something to stay warm and not get wet, because it was going to rain on Saturday. He looks at them and says, nope, I'm just going to wear my sweatshirt because I want to feel like I'm in battle with my players.
Yeah, I saw that. That's awesome.
That's the ultimate football guy right there. And that's a coach who's not going to let his team bow down, and they're going to keep fighting. They're going to keep punching, and they're not going to get frustrated. Because I think the biggest thing when we talk about this Kinnick voodoo, Dylan, is a lot of the times in these games that Iowa wins, they're actually being outplayed by their opponent. Like, you look at the stat book, and Oregon rushed for 261 yards on Saturday. And for the most part, Oregon felt like they should have been in control of this game. But Iowa just keeps hanging around, and they make the plays when you need to, and other teams lose the game. Well, Dan Lanning, I think his team is so well coached, they don't have that vibe. Like, to truly beat Oregon, you have to kill them. They are going to die themselves. And Iowa did not kill them on Saturday.
They did not.
And also, Dylan, I was texting a friend during Oregon's last drive of the game, before the game-winning field goal. And, it starts with a minute 51 left. They have, one timeout? And then the first two plays are a 4-yard pass, and then a rush of 3 for a first down. Okay, so they get a first down, but there's a lot of time coming off the clock. And I texted him, and I said, Oregon's going to need a chunk if they're going to want to win this game. And right after I send that text, that's when he completes that 20-yard pass, and you're just like, oh, shit. There was the chunk play. That was the kill shot right there.
Yep, and it happened in that same end zone where they missed they shanked it off the post against Indiana. Also, the same end zone where we watched Penn State score the game-winning touchdown against us, right in front of our faces.
You're right.
Oregon's my team of the week. We'll go back up to the NFL, but before we do, I just got a text here from our my group chat I'm in. The current odds, because Grant, you asked earlier, the current odds to win the FCS championship right now. So at minus 286 is NDSU. The next closest at odds plus 900. Plus 900, which means if you bet $100, you would win $900 if this team were to win the national title. Tarleton State. The next best is Montana State at plus 950. After that, Montana at plus 1,000. South Dakota State comes in at plus 1,500. Lehigh at plus 2,900. And rounding it out of this text is the pride of the Ivy League, Harvard, at plus 2,900 as well.
NDSU's winning it all, and there's nothing you can do about it.
That is what the computer says as well, so don't fight it. They're still winning it all. And I bet you when the computer rankings come out sometime next week, it will also say that to stop fighting it, NDSU is still going to win it all. But we'll go back up to the NFL here and talk about our Week 11 game of the week. And this is a bit of a loaded NFL week, one that we haven't had in quite a while, it feels like. So we've got some good ones to choose for.
We deserve this week in the NFL.
We do, especially after having to watch that putrid Monday Night Football game, which I'm here for all the rumors about the Packers, whether it be Jordan Love is a horrible quarterback, Matt LaFleur might lose his job because Jordan Love's a horrible quarterback. I'm here for all of it. I hope they don't win a game. I hope they just fall off and the Cowboys get another good pick. But my Week 11 game of the week is the Sunday night game. I got Lions Eagles.
You can't compete with that.
No. Dan Campbell took over play calling last week. He looked sharp. It looked good. It looked a lot better than when he first started trying to call plays. It felt like against the Commanders, it felt like they were getting back more to the identity of what Dan Campbell wanted this team to be, where they are hard-nosed, tough, physical. They're going to run the ball down your throat. But for this game, the keys, I think, are going to be third down defense. And the interior of the Eagles defensive line versus the interior of the Lions offensive line. Whoever wins that matchup, if Jalen Carter is able to eat like he did on Monday night, it's going to be a tough day for the Lions. And I think third down defense is going to be key as well, especially for the Lions to avoid those tush push situations, which I last year I was like, you know what? I'll be the guy. I'll play bad cop here, say that the tush push shouldn't be banned. But after seeing all the issues, I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of talking about it. I'm sick of seeing them not call false starts because it looks like it is incredibly hard to officiate because you're basically in a rugby scrum and you can't see who's moving. So, You know what? I'm fine with it. I'm good being done with it because I'm sick of talking about it. And it's the Eagles, so they don't deserve that play. And maybe we'll see that they're not as good as what they are, that they don't have that play in their back pocket all the time. But tush push is still allowed. I think for the Lions, too, the big thing is who on that defensive line is going to step up and rush the passer outside of Aiden Hutchinson? Because they still have not found that consistent pass rusher after Aiden since he's entered the league. There's just not anybody on that roster that can do it consistently. They're going to need somebody that can do it in spots, and especially if they want to make a deep playoff run. But the Lions and Eagles, and also the Eagles, they convert third down at in these got to have it moments. They just find ways to convert, and you give them credit. And if the Lions are able to get off the field on third down, something nobody has really been able to do against the Eagles this year, I like their chances because I think the way they play stylistically on offense, I think they are going to be able to run the ball and move the ball 20-20, but they got to find ways to get in the end zone, and they got to limit Philly to field goals.
And I'll be curious to see if Lane Johnson can play, and if he can play, if he is his normal self. Because Lane Johnson is a future Hall of Famer, but Aiden Hutchinson is 10, 12 years younger than him, and he's an absolute animal. And, that ankle and that leg might be giving him some issues. And Aiden could take a game over rushing the offensive line's right side if Lane Johnson can't go.
And also, you look at what that offensive line is not the same when Lane Johnson
No,
isn't in the lineup. There's a
no, it
significant
is
drop
not.
off when he plays.
Mm-hmm.
When he doesn't play,
When
excuse
he
me.
doesn't play. Yes, absolutely.
So, Grant, what is your game of the week? I left you a smorgasbord of games to choose from here. So you got Chiefs,
You did.
Broncos, you got Seahawks, Rams.
And I'm glad you said Seahawks Rams because that's the game. Because right now, Dylan, the Seahawks, they are just like Texas A&M. They are smashing people. Mike McDonald has them rolling up front. You had Dexter Lawrence score 2 touchdowns last week, a 33 and a 34-yard return. Jackson Smith and Jigba is out here looking like he's playing against Utah in every single game, and it's the Rose Bowl. Sam Darnold looks great. This Seattle team is just humming on all cylinders. And this Rams team, they're slowly kind of getting everyone and each other figured out. I still like the Rams in the NFC in general when they play their game and when they can put it all together. And Matt Stafford is putting up an MVP caliber type season.
But best football of his career at 37.
Career, and it's not even close. Like, he's aging like fine wine. Him and Devonta Adams and Puka Nacua, they have such a good connection between them, and you can tell Sean McVay and this whole Rams team is having fun. So I trust the Rams, but now we're going to find out if the Seahawks are for real. This week, and the Rams are trying the new black uniforms, which I'm not a fan of. They're quote NFL rivalry jerseys. We need to stop it with those. But this is going to be one heck of a game, and it's going to set up one heck of a finish because this very well could have implications towards the end of the year for who gets a home playoff game and who's going on the road. Very much like Vikings and Lions last season. So yeah, I'm excited for this Rams and Seahawks game. I think it's going to be a well of a game this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. And it feels like, because I think the question on Seattle's offense going in, where it felt like their run game was struggling early in the year, and they feel like they have been hitting their stride and getting better each week. And they're going to have as the toughest test that they have faced up to this year, where they got to go up against the nasty pass rush of the Rams. And if they're able, that young offensive line of Seattle is able to handle the Rams, I really like the Seattle. And as you talked about it, Grant, this game potentially being seeding on the line. If Seattle wins this, they are clearly in the driver's seat to win the West, positioning themselves in a good spot, because the two teams ahead of them right now, there's a lot of inconsistency between the Eagles and Packers that if they're able, Seattle can keep on this upward trajectory of winning and they end up getting the 1 seed, there are not many teams that are going to want to go up to Seattle and win and try and win the game, because it also feels like the last couple of years that it didn't quite it didn't quite have that feel that it had when the Legion of Boom was there. Now it finally feels like that fan base is getting back to that level of excitement of decibels that that it had during the Legion of Boom. And I've been there. I've watched a game there, and it is the loudest stadium that I've ever been in, including the Fargo Dome. US Bank is loud, but now it's called Lumen Field. Lumen Field loud is a different loud.
And Dylan, I'm glad you brought up Lumen Field, because it may be called Lumen Field now, but I'm always going to call it CenturyLink.
Yes, I agree. But we'll stick with you, Grant.
Yes.
Yeah, did I? Yeah, I did pick. I had Lions Eagles. Let's go down to college football before we
And actually,
before we pick our game of the week. What's our Beth Mullins game of the week, Grant?
Real quick, I just want to add another nugget for my NFL disappointing team, and I just have one sentence to say for this being the Jacksonville Jaguars. You were up 29-10 going into the fourth quarter, and you lost to Davis Mills. That's all I have to say.
That's not good.
No,
That's
no,
not
it's
good.
not.
But
But you said Beth Mullins, so let's
something
talk
that
about
also
Beth
isn't going to
Mullins.
be good is your Beth Mullins game of the week.
Yes. And, I'm sure there's worse games out there, but just from the product that these two teams are putting on the field and the storylines outside of these programs, how about Penn State versus Michigan State Saturday at 2:30?
Who also had to vacate 14 wins today.
14 wins today, yes.
Yes, in 3 years. And I also just kind of funny because I was told that there was one team that the hammer was coming down on them, and it never quite was the hammer. But we were wrong about which hammer was coming down on a school in Michigan. It was not Michigan. It was Little Brother.
We knew it was going to be a school in Michigan, but apparently we just Trojan horse Michigan State's last 3 years of football wins. So adios, amigos. But the reason I say Penn State, Michigan State, Dylan, is because not only are both of these teams 3-6, and both are in free fall, and their season is over, but this is also a Beth Mullins game of the week for the producers at CBS. It's mid-November.
Oh,
we're having it's the nut cutting time of the college football season. 2:30 on CBS. We should be having a fantastic game with conference championship implications on the line. Georgia should be going into Jordan-Hare Stadium to face a tough Auburn team. Alabama should be playing Michigan State in a 1-5 matchup. Alabama should be playing LSU. Tennessee and Georgia are playing. The fact that they played the Tennessee-Georgia game this year in September is absolutely criminal, but that's also because sports media is ruining college football. CBS used to have pride, and they truly showed the best games of the week in America at this 2:30 timeline. And now we're stuck with Penn State and Michigan State. Penn State, who has lost 6 straight games. I don't think they're going to win a game the rest of the year. There's not a chance in hell any assistant coach on this roster is keeping their job next season.
Nope.
This new head coach is coming in. He's clearing the house. Michigan State just vacated their 14 wins from their last season. So Jonathan Smith technically has 0 conference.
3 seasons. Last 3 seasons, actually, Grant.
Last 3 seasons.
That's the best joke I've heard all week. For Michigan State winning 14 games in a season.
Jonathan Smith has 0 Big Ten conference wins. And he's going to be on his way out because I don't see him staying, like you said, Dylan. Like you said 2 weeks ago when we were talking to each other, this just seemed like a weird hire. And it seemed like someone who was getting out of Oregon State to get out of Oregon State. But we have to watch these two poverty-ridden programs Saturday when CBS used to have pride when we had good games.
Which I will bring before I go to mine. I got to read you the Dave Portnoy take on this Michigan State scandal. That his tweet reads, "I'm disgusted, but I can't say I'm surprised at the rampant cheating at Michigan State. You don't just win 4 games a year at a place like MSU unless you're cheating. Shame Little Brother has to now vacate all these 4-win seasons, aka the glory years." But 2 other programs that are not in their glory years for my Beth Mullins game of the week is going to be Oregon State versus Tulsa. The reason
that was also on my list.
Oregon State is so bad that they fired the interim head coach. That's how bad things are in Corvallis right now. But hey, at least they've got a couple of national championships in baseball, and Chad Ochocinco. But we'll keep moving here. Let's go to our college football week 12.
Dylan, they have a interim head coach?
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Oh my God.
Yes. So my week 12 game of the week here. Also some actually this isn't a great week. There's about 2 when I'm a little bit glad Ethan wasn't able to join us because there's really only 2 games worth watching this week. And I'm pretty sure if I take one, Grant, you'll take the other because my third choice was going to be Notre Dame Pitt. And I don't think that game's going to be that close, especially if you read into what Pat Narduzzi said. He said he doesn't care if they lose this game 100-3 because the ACC championship is still on the line, which is correct. But I don't think if I'm a head coach, I'm saying that in my Monday press conference. But my Week 12 game of the week here is going to be, we're going to go down to Tuscaloosa, and we got Alabama versus Oklahoma. Our Alabama looking for revenge. This defense from Alabama, Grant, watching them play LSU, and albeit LSU isn't the team we thought they were this year, but watching that game on Saturday night, it looked like those 11-13 defenses under Nick Saban, where they were just going sideline to sideline, covering areas. They were they were tackling everything. Incredible defense. They're going to be facing a tough test in John Mateer as he improves week by week to the from his hand injury. It hasn't been much improvement. He definitely came back a lot sooner than he should have. But this is a must win for Oklahoma. They have to win this game to stay in the playoff discussion. Alabama, they are looking to take it one step closer to being in the getting back to Atlanta, potentially playing Texas A&M, because I believe that, do they have a bye week or a cupcake next week and then they play Auburn?
They have,
or
Alabama, yeah, they have some slappy. And then A&M has Samford.
Okay. Nice to see that the SEC bye week, pre-rivalry week has made a return. But
yes, sir.
Ty Simpson, can he continue his run? I think a lot of that Alabama game, LSU game, was they only put up 20 points against LSU. I think LSU's defense is a lot better. I also think Alabama looked across the sideline and just said, hey, let's not put ourselves in some tough spots here. Let's just get out with a win, because that defense, let's just not put ourselves in tough spots in harm's way where LSU can have a short field and capitalize. Let's just get in, play field position, see if they can go the whole way against our defense the way they're playing. Spoiler alert, they couldn't. They're going to need another type of defensive effort like they did. I think the revenge factor is going to be playing a factor. I also think Alabama playing at home is going to be a huge factor. I think they're going to have the crowd. The only thing that really concerns me is Oklahoma's defense is still a really good unit. Brett Venables is a hell of a defensive coach. What's he going to do to get pressure and put some pressure on Ty Simpson to make him potentially uncomfortable? I think last year Alabama was looking ahead to Auburn week. I think they looked and was like, oh yeah, this is a horrible Oklahoma team. They have Alabama's full attention now, and there's still a lot of carryover from Nick Saban, and that is a incredible stomach growl there, Grant. Or is that your dog?
I don't think that was anything from me.
Oh, maybe that was my stomach. I don't know.
It very well could have been.
But like I said, this year Alabama has Oklahoma's full attention, or Oklahoma has Alabama's full attention, and I see the Tide rolling in this one.
And so that leaves the other game for me, which will be Texas versus Georgia.
Yeah.
And I say that because this is a big game. This is a big game for both schools in this aspect, Dylan, because Texas somehow is still alive in this thing for the college football playoff. I'm not necessarily sure how, because losing to Florida, having to go to overtime against Kentucky, having to come back to beat Mississippi State, beating a Vanderbilt team that I think is just okay. I think Texas is wildly overrated at 10, and I think the committee just wants the big brand, and they want Arch Manning, and they want Texas in the playoff talks. So they have to go undefeated. And going into Sanford Stadium at 7:30, down in Athens, when they're going to be loud, they're going to be crazy. This is Georgia's last SEC game of the year, too, because people
Oh,
forget
you're right. It
Cupcake.
is.
They have Cupcake Week, and then they have Georgia Tech. So if Georgia wants to still somewhat stay alive for an SEC title spot, they have to win today, or sorry, Saturday, because if Georgia loses, they're not going to Atlanta. And then also, their college football playoff spots gets a little murky because that last game of the year against Georgia Tech might have a spot guaranteed in the ACC title game. And if they do, you're still telling me Georgia Tech's not going to want to eliminate Georgia's season and then also help Georgia Tech get that resume builder win to get into the college football playoff, even if they were to possibly lose in an ACC title game. And then, like I said, this is an elimination game for Texas because Texas has, of course, Georgia this week, probably some team of the deaf and the blind, and then they end the year at Texas with Texas A&M. Texas is playing a little better, but also this Georgia team, Dylan, I'm really kind of starting to like them. They're getting real comfortable. Gunnar
Best
Stockton
game of the
is
year
playing
on Saturday.
Yeah, Gunnar Stockton.
Texas plays Arkansas next week.
Arkansas, okay, that's right. So in a way, they still should win that game, but this Georgia offense is playing comfortable. Their defense is kind of slowly getting better and better each week, but they've been in so many tight games and they have such championship DNA that they don't flinch. I understand this Alabama team went into Athens earlier this year and won, but with that being said, Alabama played great. They were lights out on third down, and they still only beat Georgia by 3. I think this Georgia team could get hot and they could make a run here at the end of the year, but they got to take care of home field first on Saturday. And then we always say in the NFL, Dylan, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a year. Can Georgia take Texas down 3 times in 13 months? Or does Sark and his coaching staff finally make the adjustments they need to make, and they can get a win over Georgia, and then keep this thing rolling where you beat Arkansas before you know it, you have A&M coming into your house with a shot at making the SEC championship game in the college football playoff. So Georgia Texas has huge implications for both schools, and that's why it's my game of the week this Saturday.
So if Texas beats Georgia on Saturday, and then they beat Arkansas, which we think they will, and then they beat A&M. So if Texas wins out, would that knock A&M out of Atlanta?
It's a good question. I don't know how these SEC tiebreakers would go then, because Georgia would be out.
Georgia would be out.
Georgia would be out, 2 conference losses. But if Alabama wins out, Alabama's in. Does it just come down
wins on? Yeah, if Saturday, Alabama wins on Saturday, they're in. Also, you got to take into account Ole Miss, because Ole Miss, they've got Florida this week, and then they're off, and then they have a bye week, and then Mississippi State, which could be a tough game. That game is always a hard-fought game.
Where's it at, too? If it's in
Starkville.
That's interesting. That is interesting. Also, where's Lane Kiffin's head going to be at? Is he the head coach at LSU? Is he the head coach at Florida? Or is he staying at Ole Miss? You can't tell me that doesn't affect play. Because remember in 2021 when Oklahoma went into Oklahoma State? Needed to win that game to go to the Big 12 championship game, and Oklahoma looked lost in the first half because their head coach was thinking about taking the USC job.
Yep. Vanderbilt's they've got 2 conference losses. So they have a long shot.
I think Vanderbilt's done. But to answer your question, my guess is the way it works. If you have an A&M, Texas, and Ole Miss 3-way tie with 1 loss, it might come down to who's the highest ranked team in the college football playoff. And I tell you what, Dylan, with wins against at Georgia and home against A&M, the Texas Longhorns would be in Atlanta. I guarantee
That's very, very, very possible. Because,
and also guess what? Then the committee will give them credit for going to Columbus, Ohio, week 1.
Yeah, they will.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, I guess we'll find out what happens. Who knows? Maybe it'll just go chalk. Alabama wins, A&M wins out,
A&M wins.
and we have no drama.
It doesn't matter.
So let's that wraps up our college football portion of the show here. Let's get to the real football that's going on this Friday at the Fargo Dome. It is the Dakota Bowl, 4 state championships, 9-man, 11A, 11B, 2A, all going to be played at the Dome on Friday. I will be there for it. So we're going to preview it. I'll be there for all the games. We're just going to go in order of the games that are played. We're going to start with 9-man, Grant. We got the Lemoore, Litchfield, Marion Lobos taking on the New Rockford Cheyenne Rockets. It is a rematch of last year's state championship game, a game in which New Rockford won 62-26. Both of these teams are averaging about 60 points a game. It's going to be a very high-scoring affair. Who do you? Both teams are undefeated as well. I don't remember if I mentioned that or not. But who do you got in this one?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Lobos is the Spanish word for wolf.
Correct.
We are in North Dakota. We are closer to Canada than we are to Mexico. So I don't like that school nickname. So give me the Rockets.
Give the Rockets. All right. So you got New Rockford repeating. I think I've told you my history with Lemoore, Litchfield, Marion, I believe, right?
Yes, you have.
Okay, so I find it very difficult for me to ever pick them to win anything. Yes, I should probably close the yearbook, but you know what? Sometimes kings stay kings. I'm going to stay petty. Give me the Rockets to repeat as state champions. We'll go to the 11B division. It is a bit of a David versus Goliath matchup here. It is the Botno Braves making their Dakota Bowl debut. They have never played for a state championship in their school's history, taking on a powerhouse in 11B. They have they've been to the semis the last 2 years from 17 to 19. They won 3 straight state championships. They were in the semis the last 2 years, losing both times. The Langdon area Munich Cardinals is who they go up against. They've been the number 1 team in 11B all season. Both teams have really good athletes. Botno has one hell of a kicker. He kicked a big 36-yard field goal in the first half against Kildare that gave him the lead and ended up being the difference maker. That score ended up being 24-22. Botno was able to come away with a win. But who do you have in this one, Grant?
As much as I want to pick the upset, because everybody loves a good David versus Goliath story, the first true upset we saw in the Bible. But it sounds like this is just a wrecking crew. So I'm going to go with the team to get revenge to get back to the state championship and finally win it after losing the semis 2 years in a row.
Okay, so Grant's got Langdon. I go back and forth with this one, but I think I've got to go with the Cardinals as well. As I mentioned, Botno's got a really good kicker, and it's been a difference maker in quite a few games this year. This game is going to be played on a neutral field. It's going to be played indoors. The weather's not going to be a factor. I like Langdon to win because I think Langdon's defense is going to hold Botno to some field goals, and they're going to end up having to settle for some field goals when they should have been able to come away with touchdowns. Langdon does not kick very much, I don't think, and I think they're going to be a little bit more aggressive on 3rd and 4th down, and I think they're going to be able to execute on those downs, and I think they're going to come away with touchdowns where Botno maybe early in the game has to settle for some field goals, and that's going to be the difference. So give me the Cardinals. And we're going to go up to 11A and 2 teams that have the potential to win their first ever state championship. The Devils Lake Firebirds. Do you know what their mascot used to be called, Grant? Devils Lake's mascot.
Would it be just low-hanging fruit to say the Devils?
No, close. They were the Devils Lake Satans.
Oh, okay.
Yep. They are looking for their first ever state title. They made it there in 2009 and 2010. Fun fact, both of those years they lost to the Trinity Titans in the regular season. They beat Kindred, the powerhouse. They lost to them earlier in the year, the first game of the year, came back, beat them in overtime, which was an incredible game. Devils Lake, they're playing hot. They lost to North in the regular season 26-20. Minot North is looking for their first state title in their second year of varsity football, I might add. So who do you got in this one?
I'm going to go Devils Lake.
All right. I would I'm with you. I like this team. I think this has been a bit of a revenge tour. They lost to Kindred first game of the year. They lost to Minot North in the regular season in a tight game, a back and forth game. They competed with them. This team is hungry. Devils Lake, they've been a powerhouse. They won a state championship in basketball in 24. They were up big at halftime in basketball and ended up losing at the buzzer to Kindred. They have, if I might add, they've been exercising demons all playoffs. I think that continues. Give me the Firebirds to get their first ever state championship. They canceled school on Friday so everybody could make sure they make it to the game, which is awesome. So you know what? Give me the Firebirds, and to round out the day in the 2A championship, we got the Century Patriots versus Fargo Davies. Century started the year 0-2. One of those losses was to Davies, where they lost 34-3. They've won every game since. Davies, their only losses to Legacy. They lost in the state championship to Cheyenne last year. Looking for revenge. Who do you have in this one?
Fargo Davies, they're still the Eagles, right?
They are.
If I can remember, I always liked seeing their students and fans around town. I like their color scheme. I like their logo. You know, of course,
they do wear black jerseys quite a bit, though. If I have to, I'm just throwing that in there.
That's a turnoff. Because they're kind of the maroon and kind of
they're like Boston College colors.
Yeah, it looks very good, but they wear black often. Give me Century. That black is a turnoff.
Yep. I'm with you. Their head coach, Ron Wingenbach, his daughter used to babysit me when I was a kid. His wife and my mom were college roommates. So he is a family friend. So I'm going to roll with the Patriots as well in this one. Mm-hmm. So that is our Dakota Bowl picks and preview here. So we got one more segment before we wrap up this show. So Grant, what do you got for us for Curveball of the Week?
So Thanksgiving's coming up, and I know before we've talked about our favorite holidays, Dylan. I want to ask you what you think the most underrated holiday is.
Underrated holiday? Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh. You know what? I'm gonna go with Labor Day. Because it's the start of college football season. You get a 3-day weekend.
Okay.
They jam-pack it in. You got football going from Thursday all the way to Monday. And it's spread out. You sit down, you enjoy it. It's kind of the last hoorah for the summer. You get a good some good barbecue going. It's just a great way to start off fall.
Mm-hmm. So actually, Dylan, I'm gonna go. You're saying to be the ending of summer. I'm going to go the beginning of summer. What about Memorial Day?
That's also a great choice too.
The weather's turning around. If you're interested, all golf courses are open right now. It's that time of the year where you're sick of eating that winter comfort food. You can get the grill going. You get burgers, brats. If you want to, get some friends out, maybe smoke a brisket, smoke a pork butt, cook some ribs. The weather's nice. In Minnesota with the 18,000 lakes we have, most of them are small ponds and parking lot, but they label that a lake. You can get the boat out there. The weather's turning
in that
for
little
the better.
pond.
Yes, in that little pond there in the parking lot. If you want to enjoy a boat ride with your friends, you can. If not, if not, that's okay because the grass is green. Trees are getting leaves in again. Flowers are bloomed. It's kind of pretty. We've gone through the hard 4 to 5 months of winter. That can be a drag and that tests your mental toughness. So now let's go celebrate and let's enjoy the sun and the nice weather outside. And also,
Absolutely.
Dylan, it is a 3-day weekend too.
Very true. It is. The bad thing I will say with Memorial Day is living in the Midwest is the potential for bad weather that you may have. Usually around Labor Day, the weather, it is still pretty warm out. You don't got to worry about if there's going to be things that would deter your day, which for the most part, if it were to rain on Labor Day, it wouldn't affect me a whole lot because that weekend I usually spend sitting on the couch watching college football for about 14 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, both underrated holidays, both good ones. Speaking of which, a holiday that just happened yesterday was Veterans Day. We wish everybody all the veterans, thank you to those who have served, who are currently serving. Shout out my dad, who was a Marine, served this country. He's very proud to be a Marine. And everybody else who has served, we thank you for your service. And that wraps up this week's episode of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. We'll be back next week to recap and preview the week that was and the week coming up. Make sure you like, rate, subscribe, and review, and talk to and subscribe, rate, review, and on 3GTV podcast. You can find us on all of our socials. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week.